Hey, what's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Just figured out how to start this thing live. I always forget when I go live on my own, so that's it. I got to bring up the other screen real fast. So there we go. I got to go back to this screen. Let me update this and see here. It's always difficult for me to figure this out after I don't do it for a few days. But how is everybody doing? I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat. Very good. I'm just gonna. I was answering some questions, and I figured it would be interesting just to do a live and chat it up with a bunch of people. I'm by myself. I'm lonely. I need some reseller love. So hope everybody can hear me good. That's good. Thank you. It's always weird when you're by yourself, though. But hope everybody is good. I'm gonna go over some like interesting questions that were left on a few videos when I was going through, and just give my opinion on some of these things and just talk about it a little bit. But how is everybody? I see a lot of Tommy, how you doing? Swamp Picker, Couple Pickers, Kurt Knox Connection. I probably killed that wrong. Not the best one. Marie over the years. Mike Andrews. Parrot Head Picker. There you go. That's my brother Andy. What's up? Fat girl sewing. That was crazy. But hope everybody is doing well. I'm going to talk about a few different things. If anybody else wants to bring any subjects up while I'm talking, go ahead. I'll try to catch them if I can. But I'll do my best. What's up, Thrift Beast? One thing that I get questioned a lot about, and I actually didn't even think about this till the other day. I was chatting with Lonnie and Justin about something. Oh, really, Lonnie? Was it just Lonnie? I think it was Lonnie and Justin. Maybe it was just Lonnie. I don't remember. Time goes by. I forget. But I was talking about being full-time, and when I had my warehouse, I don't know if most of you people remember, I had my warehouse from like mid 2014 to like early springish 2016. We had a chance to buy the unit if we wanted. We didn't. We had to move out. That's why I came back home. And I was thinking already almost 4 years I've been at home since I moved the business back. Kind of crazy. I didn't even think about that. And kind of falls into this subject where people were saying when is it a good time to go full time? We get this question probably once or twice a week. When is it good to go full time, and when did you go full time? Now, for me, I had some money set aside. Like eBay was really doing good our second year, and I started in 2012, 2013, and if you go back, we've made videos for the last almost 8 years now. So you can go back from the beginning when we started our reselling journey. That's all this is about, So anyway, make a long story short, I quit my job. I was a cook. I wound up walking out, just quitting, getting upset, and I was making extremely good money. Basically help run the kitchen, and I was making very good money, but I was getting aggravated by the family I worked for. I was there for 16 years, and at some point it just gets to be a little too much, and I decided it was time to go, and I just left. Nothing about it. And my wife wind up going, basically with the same mentality. Oh, if you're going full time, I'm going full time too, man. Let me tell you, it's kind of crazy because we were doing. I think my best month at that time was 8,300, or 8,800, somewhere in the 8,000s. And when you're trying to think about what you need to pay things, and I didn't have as much as I pay now. I actually pay more things now. We have a second property we pay for now. We have 2 vehicles we pay for now. We didn't have 2 vehicles then. We only paid for 1 vehicle. So, and every cost of living goes up since then too. So Let me tell you, it wasn't always easy, but it was definitely worth it in my mind. But it was actually just around Thanksgiving of 2013, so November, and then we wind up getting the warehouse about a year. No, not a year, but like 7 months, 8 months later. My wife went to the UK with our two of her best friends, and I wind up renting a warehouse when she was away. She actually came back like 4 days early. She was like, "What the hell are you doing?" She was not thrilled. I would not have got the warehouse if it was for her. But I've been full time for the most part for the last. I do help out my friend at his restaurant over the summer. Just kind of, nobody bothers me. I'm in charge, but that's over. That's over and done with. Thank God. I don't want to have to do that anymore. I've officially said, no. Sorry, I love you. You're my best friend and everything, but yeah, those days are over for the most part. But anyway, getting back to the part where is it good for you to go full time or not? I mean, you're the only person that really knows the answer to that. I would have some money set aside because it's not easy ramping up your business, or try to do as much ramping up as possible before going full time, because it becomes a bit of a, you want to get comfortable to where you're not, worried about being on Operation Repo or something like that, or having the mortgage man look for his houses, you really want to get to a good thing. I wish I would have stayed longer because I screwed up. I was when that happened, we were looking at buying a house. We were approved for like 350 or something like that. We were looking at a different bunch of places, and it was just like, it was not cool because I didn't know you had to be self-employed for 2 years. Like, we were talking to the guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we can get you a loan. You're self-employed." Then I become self-employed. I'm thinking like, well, my income's going to be the same basically. Like, I'm going to get it. And he's like, "No," and I screwed up. And then we were always after that. It was like, do we move? Do we not? Do we move? Do we not? Prices got too crazy over that period of time. But I wish I waited longer, because I would have had a house. Now I got a house, but it's in another country. But anyway. And then getting to us, Brett, I see a question there. Do I sell on OfferUp or Craigslist? I do not use OfferUp or what's the other one? Letgo. I've tried to sell some things on there. I never really had any luck. Craigslist, I've sold stuff, but really, it's none of those work in our area very well. In our local one, where we live on Cape Cod, so we're about an hour from Providence. We're an hour and 20 minutes from Boston. We're 2 hours from Worcester. We're the second largest city in New England. We have 3 cities that are kind of close somewhat, but because it's such a drive, nobody will come here. We have to go to them. Just not worth it. Facebook Marketplace is actually probably better than all three of those right now for like local sales and stuff like that. Facebook Marketplace, I think, is the best, and that's the one we've had the most success with over the last few years. What's up, Justin? Flippin'. It is cold. It is cold. Since I got some New England people in the chat, did anybody go to the David Ortiz estate sale on Saturday? I was thinking about it, never got along to it. For you people that don't know, David Ortiz had a estate sale at his house, and it's in Weston, Mass. I was gonna go, and I should have went, because that would have been a great video for YouTube, and you could see how much I don't do this for videos for this or that. I just do this to make videos, and that would have been a great video, and I never got around, could never think about it. But it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see what is available. I mean, they did have like I don't know, like 300 pictures online or something, or 250. I looked through the stuff, and like I told my wife, I said, um, for someone that's a Dominican and he's married to a American woman from Minnesota, I think, or Wisconsin, something like that. You could tell she's the decorator of that house. You would not think a Dominican lived in that house. And a lot of the stuff seemed to be like just weird stuff. They had asparagus rug. I mean, it would have been like cool, or like they had an iron like doormat thing. That would have been cool to get, because I mean, like, hey, I got this. This belonged to David Ortiz, but I'm not a Red Sox fan. Not a David Ortiz fan. You know, I mean, luckily he didn't get gunned down when he was visiting Dominican Republic, messing around with some broads. Yeah, messing with somebody else's woman. But hey, what are you gonna do? I'll share the link with you later, Tommy. I have the link actually to it, because I was talking to Thrift Mine. I thought they possibly were gonna go, but I didn't feel good that day actually. How many extra inches do you allow in the chest for a blazer or a sport coat? For a blazer or sport coat, it's usually 4 inches, pit to pit. 4 inches usually, because sport coat's made to be more looser, because it's a sport coat. It's made to have you could wear a sweater under it or something like that, or use it in a thing. Suits depends on suits, because it's anywhere between 2 and 4. Depends on the cut of the jacket. Some more jackets now are slimmer fit, so some jackets are only like 2 inches. That's more current, and that's only like really brands that are catering to a slimmer fit. It's hard to explain, but that's the best I could explain to you guys. When taking men's blazer measurements, how do you take the second or third button waist measurement? I would say usually it's the lower button is the waist measurement, because that's where the jacket would sit on somebody. The second button is across your belly button. That's basically like your waist. So whatever that bottom button is, I would say is your waist measurement. Yeah, I did see they had a lot of women's stuff, a lot of good women's stuff, but I don't know if I would have. I don't know if there would have been money to be made, and I'm not even though I pick up women's clothes, I'm not thrilled about picking up women's clothes most of the time. But you know, and then there was another, and someone else asks always a question about, like, is there oversaturation of clothing? And I mean, people have been talking about clothing and talking about not making money in it, and I think that the biggest thing in the oversaturation of clothing is it's not oversaturated. Certain brands might be oversaturated, or certain brands may lose, like, they go in and out of favor or style, let's say. Like Robert Graham was huge there for a period of time, and now it's not. You don't see anybody really wearing their style shirts. I mean, if you're wearing a Tommy, what the brand were we just talking about? Robert Graham. That stylish shirt, you don't really see too many people wearing it. It's like they're out of style for the most part. So you don't really see people rocking those shirts. Do I still pick them up? Yes, because people still collect them. There's certain people that do still like them, but it's nowhere near the height of what it once was. No different than like Nat Nash shirts were huge when 2.5 Men were around. They were the silk bowling style shirts, and you could get huge money for those. Like, not huge, but you can get $50 for just a regular used pre-owned shirt. And if it was one of the limited edition ones, you could even get so much more. But that market kind of died off. I can't actually remember the last time I even seen one in the store. And I know they've kind of like, what's the word? They made their brand a lot cheaper. They offer, now they have, I think they private label stuff from Marshalls and TJ Maxx, which is like a polyester and rayon blend. It's not even silk anymore and stuff like that. So it's not really that great. But I mean, brands come and go. Like I learn about new brands almost every time I go out. I find a new brand, and you find this stuff, and it comes in and out of style like crazy. And it comes in, it goes out, something else comes in, something else comes out, another brand comes. Like golf stuff for a while there, and still is, come what is Ms. in the Main. It's a very good, style shirt. But you can see where the prices have come down a little bit because the brand was new in like 2014 or something, 2015. So there wasn't much available on the used secondhand market. As it becomes more available, it's the old thing of supply and demand. When demand is high, supply is low, but you know what I'm talking about, supply and demand. It fluctuates with everything. That's why I kind of stay with a lot of suits and sport coats and menswear, like more higher end menswear, or stuff that people use for what do you want to call it? My phone's going crazy on the charger. Like business attire and stuff like that. Even though business attire is not as popular as it was in the 80s, 90s, even in the early 2000s. Now a lot of it's business casual. But there's still men that like to wear nice suits. And with the way, people want to save money these days, they'll rather look online and get a nice suit or get a nice sport coat or a nice tie for a saving, for a particular price cut. Eventually clothing is only going to get better, technically, because the economy is doing great right now. When you see everybody's selling stuff, doing well, guess what? Eventually there's going to be a downturn. Probably next year, presidential election. There's going to be, maybe it's this coming year. Maybe it's this. Yeah, maybe it's this year. What am I talking about? Well, the president doesn't take office till next year, right? Yeah, but I mean, this year could be the whole thing. You could see, you've already seen the stock markets going crazy because of that virus thing, which I think is just a bunch of bullshit. I mean, I'm not saying you always see these crazy flus coming out of China, but I mean, then you're seeing them eat like bat soup, and you're like, yeah, now I know you're getting sick. Like, there's something wrong with you. I don't eat anything that other people don't eat. Like, I'm a fat boy and I'm a picky eater. I don't know why. But you really got to really, that whole thing is sending the whole world into like a chaotic like mystery thing. It's all the whole, basically more people die off the common cold or common flu than this thing, and people are going crazy over this thing. So who knows what's going to happen? I got Australia in the house today. How you doing back from burnout? But let me see here. If you drop 10 from the Italian, what? If you drop 10 from the Italian size to the U.S. size and the chest measurement is the same as the U.S. size, I should list it correctly with the size. Yes, you should. If you're selling it to the American market, you should list it in American, in U.S. sizing. I hope that made sense. I mean, because it just makes sense. Because you're catering to a American audience, so it's best to put it towards a American audience. So because most people are not gonna go looking for a suit and look for a 50 if they're looking for a 40, because it would be too confusing, I think, for them. Do you believe in dry cleaning suits or sport coats, etc., before filming and listing? Believe it or not, most of the suits and sport coats we get are in clean condition. They're dry cleaned. Most have dry cleaner tags on them. And even with clothing in general, I mean, you got to remember, most people donate from their closet. They don't donate from their hampers. So most of the stuff is already clean. It's not like you're wearing something, you throw it in the hamper, and then you go, I'm going to donate that. Like, maybe somebody does, but most of the time they get a dry clean, it hangs in their closet for a little bit, and somebody just doesn't want to don't fit it anymore, or this or that. So most of the time, I would say the majority of the stuff is clean. I do get stuff dry clean. I got 5 shirts I got to get dry clean that are just, just a little, they look a little dingy, and sometimes, or they may have little spots on them or something like this. And I think dry cleaning them usually cleans them up and gets them nice. I have a steamer, but I don't like to use our steamer too much. China has why am I having an issue saying that word? China has quarantined 80 million. This might be worse than the flu. Just as long as it stays over there and just don't disrupt my business, I don't care what it does. I know there's a lot of other cases around the world, including the U.S., and trust me, my wife works for JetBlue, and she probably, they talk about this more than anybody else. I just don't see her enough to talk to her about it, and nor do I want to, because it has that effect within our household, possibly, because you are checking with people from flights. Though Worcester, Massachusetts, they ain't getting too many flights from they don't get any flights from China, but we do probably get our share in Boston. Do you store? Okay, I don't know what that's about. Do you store some jackets in shipping boxes till they sell? If so, do you have any problems with customers saying they're wrinkled? No, I've never had any issues with anybody saying they're wrinkled or anything like that. Usually we just fold them like twice, just fold them in half and then fold them again, fold the sleeves in. We've never had any issues. I mean, somebody should not, I mean, it's folded in a box. I mean, there's people that will sit here on YouTube and tell you that it's great to ship a suit jacket in a padded flat rate. Now, if I got a jacket in this, I would be pretty upset, because that most likely is not going to be ready to wear. Because you're going to have to ball it up and put it in there. I don't even know how. Every once in a while, I snipe stuff off of eBay, and somebody either puts a suit jacket in one of those, or they put it in a what do you call it? The legal flat rates in the box. I mean, it's like, it's that cardboard envelope, and it's always beat up, and I'm always like, it's like half the jacket's like busting out the side of it and stuff like that. It's like, really. And they're the people that you can tell that, either one, they offer the free shipping thing, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's 2020. We're all small business owners. As you know, every year prices of shipping go up. I mean, if you're going to offer free shipping, you should put aside $10 for shipping. It's incorporated in it, but then I'm going to go ship it the cheapest way possible. It's like, no. And that's why we get a lot of repeat customers, because I think because of the way we ship things and taking the extra step to being very good. And it's why we get also good prices for our stuff also. I mean, we get really extremely good prices for ourselves. And I think it's just all about a matter of having the right measurements, describing your stuff properly, which is just like knowing what you have in an item. I know a lot of people that they don't probably seem to know what they have all the time. It's constantly like they can't tell the difference between a certain style of shoe, or you ask them a simple question and it becomes like, what are they asking me? You know, it goes into the same of all these people putting shell Cordovan in their shoe because they see shell Cordovan brings higher prices, but they have no idea what shell Cordovan is. And you'll see it like on FootJoy shirts. People will put like FootJoy Titleist because they see those shirts sell for a higher price, but they don't understand why. It has the Titleist tour patch on the sleeve. Like, it's a tour shirt. Those are why those go for more money. It's branding. Has the Titleist on the sleeve and somebody's going to want it. I mean, that's what that all comes down to. But hey, what do I know? What's up, Ray? How you doing? What is shelf order ban? What? I don't know what that means. All right, I think I'm all caught up for the most part. I was going to talk about this month. Actually, this month was actually kind of slow. We had a really weird month for us. Like, we were down 10% from the last month. But it was like in the middle of the month. I had like last month, like on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd or something, I had a all out like craziness with some stuff we bought. And I had like a $1,400 month. I mean, a $1,400 day and all these different things. And we just got like some really good days. I think it was like a $1,400 day, a $500 day, and a $900 day. Guess what? Those 3 days came off, and I did like 200, 100, and 400. It screwed my month up. It was like when those days come off, and then the new day comes on, it's like, ooh, 1,400 came off. Like, how am I gonna fix that? It screwed my shit up. So I was down like 10%, but I'm up 6% from last year, which is always good. So it's always a good thing. Shell Cordovan is a higher grade of leather. It's from a horse's hind, I believe. And there's certain ways to say there's a website that you can use called Shelled Cordovan, and based on the numbers inside the shoes, you can tell. But most of the time, you can tell. I don't have any shoes next to me. Is if the shoes are handmade. Like, if you look at the heel of the shoe, a men's shoe, and that's nailed on, you may want, and it's like an Allen Edmonds or something like that, you may want to investigate. They don't, Shell Cordovan, there's not too many Cole Haans are not really Shell Cordovan at all. There may be a few older pairs, but we're talking like very slim. Alden's, which is a Massachusetts company, which we do find, and they do make shoes for Brooks Brothers. We do find those quite often, actually. Not often, but like every 2 or 3 months, I probably come across a pair. And that's just because they're made here. So, and they have not an office, but like they're sold here locally. So it's like anything in your area, there may be something. Like, if you live in Milwaukee area, in Milwaukee where Allen Edmonds is, I bet you there's Allen Edmonds a lot, because they have a factory store there and everything else, and there's probably a lot more shoes in that area. You could probably even buy shoes from I bet you could buy probably seconds and stuff like that, I bet you, and probably get them for a good price. I'd have to look into that, but I bet you there's some type of there's regional things for everywhere. If you're in Colorado, you're going to find great probably sportswear. like outdoors wear, I should say, like Cool and Patagonia and North Face and stuff like that. As I don't come across all that. I do come across some Patagonia, but I don't come across a lot of those brands. It's not as crazy as that. But back from Burnout Ronnie, I just got some nice men's shoes from my trip. I can't find a huge amount of the brand. Can you tell me if you ever heard of it, please, over in the States? Christian Lacrosse. I've never heard of that brand. I've never heard of that brand. I don't know what that brand is. Sometimes it's just good to Google. Google is your friend. I know everybody's got this shit on me, but sometimes I won't. There's brands I've picked up just because they look like really good quality, and especially some UK brand stuff. And then I can't find anything on eBay, especially US eBay, and I have to go to like look in the UK side, or I have to go and go to like Google to see, and it's like, oh, there they are. But I've never heard of that brand before. You can get back to us, Mel, and let us know if they're good. Let me see here. Harris Tweed Jobs. Harris Tweed jackets still selling for you. Harris Tweed has always been a thing. Harris Tweed is a fabric. It's a wool from Scotland. If I'm mistaken, it might be Ireland, but it's somewhere up there in one of those, that area. And what's the word I want to use? It's a fabric. So it's a lot of brands will carry that fabric. And in like the 70s and 80s, and probably even in the 90s, and even before that, like the 60s, like a lot of store brands use that. Like just local stores would put Harris Tweed in their stuff like that. And I stay away from any Harris Tweed for the most part, unless it has another brand associated with it. So if it's like a Orvis with Harris Tweed fabric, or Brooks Brothers with Harris Tweed fabric, or maybe Ralph Lauren with Harris Tweed fabric, etc. Harris, I mean, it's good, but there's other fabrics that are just as good, like Moon Tweed is another one. Yeah, there's a few other tweeds. I can't think of the names. I see them when I see them, but Harris Tweed in general, there's too much of it, and unless you have something that's really like going on special about it, it's hard to sell it. Like I've always had a problem selling it. I remember some other YouTuber was like, pick up Harris Tweed, everything. And it's like, no, don't listen to him. No, don't listen. Don't. Because my past experiences, it's not good. I mean, if we went to eBay right now, I'm probably going to be wrong by this, I bet you. I'm usually wrong sometimes. Harris Tweed. And I look here, there's almost 9. Let me just go to men's. Let's narrow this down a little bit better. Let's go to pre-owned. So if I go in the men's department at pre-owned, we have 3,700, and then sold is 3,100. So I mean, they're selling at like what, about 50% sell through. But I mean, I see a lot of cheap prices here on Sport Coach just off the top, like $40, $26, $52, $25, $33, $25, $38. So I mean, but then I see a Brooks Brothers that sold here for like $220. So I would not buy them unless they had like a crazy pattern, or unless there had to be something unique and different about it. Maybe the size, maybe, or something. But I stopped picking up a lot of basic Harris Tweed stuff for a while now. Let me see here. Do you still pick up Eaton, Dolce & Gabbana men's dress shirts when they are size medium? How long do the sizes usually sit? Medium and large are probably the two toughest sizes to sell for whatever reason. And for the most part, Eaton only makes, I mean, a majority of the shirts I find from anyway from there are dress shirts. So yeah, they could be medium, depending on the neck size. Usually they have the neck size, like a medium would be like what, 15 and a half, 16, in that range, 16 and a half. Small is like 14 and a half, 15, mediums, 15 and a half, 16, large, 16 and a half, 17, it just depends. But I mean, I'll pick them up if they're cheap. Not so much, I haven't found anything Dolce & Gabbana for a while. The last few pieces of Dolce & Gabbana I found are like the Dolce & Gabbana basic line, which I think I don't know. I didn't pick it up because the last one I sold was like $25. I don't think they sell all that great. But Eaton I still pick up, but I don't pick up the older label as much. If it has to be the newer labels. Or newer label, I should say. I don't pick up that like square boxy one. More the elongated, like ones that look like a rectangle are not that bad. And they're almost always a slim fit, the newer ones, which is more the style now with men's dress shirts. Did Johnny Carson have a clothing line back in the day? I've seen some stuff that said Johnny Carson. I'm supposing had to be probably in the 60s or 70s, probably 70s. But I've seen it. I've never picked any of it up. Mejia, do you know if women's 3X and 2X clothing sells well? Usually, bigger men's and women's clothing does sell better online. As a bigger size male, I know. Take it from me. Most because it becomes a thing of like you can't find a certain size. I know when I lived in the Dominican Republic and I was trying to find a 2X shirt, I couldn't find anything in the Dominican Republic in a 2X at all. And eventually we found it at Big and Tall. They had like one Big and Tall store in the whole city. And the city's like 4 million people. And they raped me on the price. Let me tell you, it was ridiculous. What's up, Matt? I hope you know you're giving me back that trophy next year. But the bigger clothing does sell well. It's harder to get a hold of, less, and especially for a lot of people that live like, if you like where my parents live and stuff like that in Western New York, you'd have to probably go like 2 hours to the closest store. So, depending on where it is, you have to, it's harder to come by stuff. So there's always more of a demand for it. But it has to be priced right, like anything. I feel like brands are fading out a lot quicker now. What do you think? It's like anything. I mean, fashion in general, the last few years has been kind of like throwaway fashion. It lasts for a few months and it's on to something new. It seems like it's very seasonal, brands and fashion. And I think it's just the way the newer generations are coming around. Stuff it's like the music even to this day is in and out so quick. Like you'll hear a song and it's not like where it used to be that build up for something, Now you get that CD, or you don't even get the damn CD anymore, man. I remember the old days of waiting for like a new Mobb Deep or Nas CD, like waiting. But you knew it was going to come out in there like 3 months, and you hear the single and you're like, I wonder what the rest of the album's like. But it's like clothing. Everything's throwaway now. It's like everything cycles through quicker. You know. There was a question here about. Let me see. Do we sell vintage clothing? And we do sell some vintage clothing. It depends on what it is, but I do have some older concert shirts that are up now. I have like a 90s. No, I don't even know what year it is. I do have like a late 90s Grateful Dead shirt. I have an 80s Michael Jackson t-shirt that I've had up for a long time. I got it right around that time where that HBO special came out, and I was done after that. I was done. I was so upset. But I still got it. Anybody looking for that Michael Jackson tour merchandise? But let me see here. I had another thing. Let me see here. Oh, somebody else was asking about like what kind of discount do we send out? Because a lot of sales are based off of. I haven't had a sale actually since like 12 o'clock this afternoon. I'm kind of this morning I had like 6 sales this morning. I was actually like, yeah. We actually have. Let me see here. I don't know if you can see that, but we actually have. I have 20 items to send out this morning. You can see the certain things I looked up today. I was looking at Supreme Jordans, and I was looking at signs. What a unique, different thing. But this weekend's been very strong. I think we're at like 20 sales for like $1,300, which is good. Which was like from like 4 o'clock Friday. So nice. So it's been good. I mean, a lot of it I didn't even notice. Like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to make a sale, because my sale ended Friday night, and I made a new sale. But when you make the sale, it automatically starts for whatever reason at 30%, and I always roll it back to 15 or 20. For whatever reason, I didn't notice it the first sale I made, and it was at 30%, and I'm like, oh. And I said, we'll put it up at 30% too. We could use to move some stuff, because we may have to move at some point very soon for my wife's job if I can't talk her into leaving. My goal is to talk my wife into leaving her job. so I can stay here, don't have to move. Maybe I can get myself a nice office space or warehouse space, and I can focus back on the business again. I get too, now that she's gone 4 days a week, I get very, I don't like being alone, but that's not the thing I was trying to say. There's times where I get very like, what's the word I want to use? Like I get unmotivated or something like that. Like my ADD kicks in big time, especially when I'm alone by myself. Oh man, I get like all over the place. Like I'll be watching this, I'll be watching that. Like I'll search on eBay for certain things. Like, ooh, maybe I want a pair of new shoes, or let me see what these shoes. I wanted these shoes before. What are they worth now? And then I realized that I don't really need a pair of Supreme Jordan 5s. Like, no, don't. They're too much. We ain't making that much money. I need to start a mentoring group or something if I want a pair of those shoes. I don't know why I was going to even say this too. I was going to say, yeah, the shirt would probably sell when Michael Jackson dies, and I'm like, you dumbass, he's been dead. Like when Prince died, all his stuff shot up, which is good and bad. The thing that's really hot right now with concert shirts are the rap concert shirts from the 90s. Those are the ones that are like big money. If you look, those are the ones like selling. Like if you found the Tupac or certain ones, Mob Deep I seen, and Nas and like Wu-Tang Clan, like any of that stuff is huge money right now. They're the ones that took over. Like the 80s stuff is actually, I would say, actually went down over the last few years. It's like the snapback caps actually went down over the last few years. Like, I don't have it. I have my little hat area over there where I get my hats for the shows. Wear a variety of hats. This is my hat today. Sponsored by Polo Ralph Lauren. Polo Ralph Lauren. You want to sponsor me in my show? Hit me up. I could use a sponsor. And Chick-fil-A too. Chick-fil-A can sponsor me too. Oh boy. Something funny. But anyway, you know, a lot of those sales, this has actually been a really good weekend, getting back to the point I was trying to make. And you know, a lot of the sales come off of either offer to buyers, some of them, and we do that like 10% under whatever we, you know, if we have something on sale, I'll offer it a little bit cheaper and send out offers to people, because on promoted listings, a lot of that stuff's been selling too, and I think that's a good thing. You know, trying to, because the whole thing is trying to move stuff. You don't want to keep stuff. Yeah, you want top price for something, but if I get a chance to offer up buyers, and I see somebody that's like, let's say I have a jacket that I've had in inventory for 2 years, and I see somebody jump on that, and I have the chance to shoot them an offer, like, yeah, I'm taking 25% off that thing. I want to move it. Like right now, if anybody comes to my eBay store and looks at a jacket and puts it, I'm giving them a good offer, because any winter jacket right now, I want to move. I don't want to hold on to those for the next 6 months till like the fall comes again. Like they'll sell over the summer here and there, but they're gonna stop at this. You know, I got a month maybe left. Nobody's looking for jackets now. They were looking for jackets when it was cold. It's getting out of that cold period. Let me see here. That's my wife. Hope she doesn't want anything important. But Stock Jockey Mobb Deep was an American rap group duo from Queensbridge, Queens, New York. The group consisted of Havoc and Prodigy. Prodigy is no longer with us, actually, unfortunately. You notice like a lot of rappers have been dying lately. Like, man, they die it seems like they die almost every week. Another rapper dies. Like that seems like an occupational hazard these days. That seems like the taxi cab drivers back in the 80s. Like, I don't know what I don't know what it is, gangs or whatnot, but man, sell coffee mugs. I sold a coffee mug for $200, Playboy. Don't mess with me, Brian. What's up, Mr. Justin? How you doing? But let me see what else here. You know, another thing I've been, you know, someone was mentioning to me, and I had actually a few questions about this, was do I ever get discouraged by seeing numbers of other YouTubers or people on Instagram? And I don't know, you know, some of us show our numbers, some of us don't. You know, like I just showed that we had 20, talked about how much we had for 20. What is that, this weekend we had 20 already to ship. And I know a lot of people, you know, will get discouraged because they see Tom, Dick, or Harry doing big numbers. And thing is, you have to remember is that, like, you don't know what they're buying, how they're buying, what they're doing. And a lot of it's not even like, you just can't. The only thing you got to worry about is yourself in the end. Like, you can't worry about what Tom, Dick, and Harry is doing. Just got to worry about yourself, and that's it. You know, use things as motivation. There's a few clothing sellers that I talk to, like, on a, I would say, almost daily basis, and two of them do a lot more than I do. One of them does close to $30,000 a month, and I'm like, and another one does even more than he does, and I'm always like, or right around, probably a little bit less, probably like 20, 25 ish, and the other one does 30. And I don't worry about what they're doing. Yeah, it would be nice, but how do I get to that point is what I got to figure out. I don't got to figure out, like, I'm not going to go sit in a corner and be sad about, people doing these things. Like, I remember the Amazon days where everybody was flashing these huge big numbers on Amazon. And I did Amazon, and let me tell you, Amazon's a sham. Screw Amazon. Yeah, I mean, people do make money on Amazon. It's cool, it's fun, but man, Amazon's a sham. It sucks balls. I will tell you that right now. Amazon's with their fees, like over the last few years, their fees keep getting more and more expensive. Like, Amazon just, I mean, we were at one point, we were doing like 10,000 on Amazon, 10,000 on eBay. Let me tell you, that 10,000 on eBay made so much more money than that $10,000 on Amazon. Like, that 10,000 on Amazon was too much work. Especially now, like, and a lot of smaller things. Like, we used to sell a lot of video games. We used to, this one Walmart, we'd find a whole boatload of Amazon, like PS3 games and Xbox 360 games. They were kind of like outdated, but you could sell them for like $10, $15. Now, to do that, I would lucky if I made like $4 or $5 on those things. It would be crazy. I wouldn't make anywhere near what I used to make. So, I mean, it's like you're only making 25% profit on an item. So it's a whole different thing. Jude on Instagram was boasting about doing $10,000 a month in shoe sales. Came to find out he was only making $8 a shoe. After we ran the numbers, Jude was pulling in $900 on those sales. That's crazy. That's like drop shipping numbers. People sometimes you'll see people do these crazy numbers off of drop shipping. And drop shipping technically is like, it's not, what do you want to call it? It's like, you don't have the item and you sell on it, and it's totally against eBay's rules. eBay will shop you down. And they just don't like it. I don't know what's going on over here. But hey, thanks for the super chat over the years. I appreciate it. Not necessary, but I do appreciate my super chats. I get about one a month. I think I only do about one live a month, so that might be why too. But you can't get discouraged by others. There's other resellers that, they have fancy cars, they have these big pretty buildings for their reselling business, and it's not all off a reseller, that's for sure. So if you look at things like that and you want to get all discouraged over that, but not everything of what everybody does is reseller. A lot of people make more money off of selling the dream than they do actually doing the dream. But I know there's two things that I would actually like to get into. Two things I really want to focus on. Number one, I got to get out of this place and get something bigger, either a house or a warehouse. Not a warehouse. I had the warehouse before. I know I say warehouse, and in my mind thinks warehouse, but more like office space would be better. Office space would be a lot better. Hey, I got two super chats in the truck. I'm flexing today. Flexing. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it, brother. But it's one of those things. I gotta do more numbers. Like, I would love my wife to leave her job. I know I'm shitting on my wife at the moment, and I think she's watching this. I love my wife, but I would love her to come back into the business with me, because I think I can get the $20,000, $25,000 under the right mindset and having that assistance, just me and her. So I don't know. It's a lot better. Reselling money is a lot easier than that. But warehouse would be one of them. And the other two things though to get into. Number one would be, I want to get more into like antique stuff. We used to do a little bit of this in the past. Like we'd get into a lot of it with yard sales, and because I've been through like a lot of last few years, I haven't had to do, I couldn't been able to do the yard sales as much, helping my friend out, and all of a sudden the next thing I know I'm helping out Saturday mornings, which I don't want to help out a Saturday morning. Like, dude, I really want to tell you no, but you feel loyalty to somebody when they need you, when you needed them, and they gave you $10,000 without a drop in the hat. Like, hey, I got this restitution I got to take care of. Like, I asked for it, and they go, well, how much you need to get out of that trouble, and you do it, and you feel a certain like you hold them to a point, but after a while, it's like, hey, you gotta look out for yourself, and sometimes it just runs its course. I know this year we're going to do better than last year because for 4.5 months I help out at the restaurant, and over the summer, and my sales suck over the summer because there's weeks I go on without listing anything. Now I have to do it, and I want to do it. I can't wait to like go after estate sales and yard sales like crazy and just have that more freedom. And I wanted, and the thing is, I mean, maybe I'm being selfish as a mofo, but I would want to have somebody to do it with me. That's why I hope my wife is more engaged and, coming over and helping a little bit, or unless, she thinks she can consign her work in the 2 days, which, then she's working like 20 something hours, 2 days, and that might be too much for her. And then the travel back and forth 4 hours, who knows? That might be too much. So I don't know what my wife wants to do. What do you do with debt piles? I don't have a debt pile. I have a debt pile. I list a debt pile. Maybe if I had office space or somewhere, a larger space, maybe it'd have more of a debt pile, maybe possibility. But anybody knows me, I get stuff, I sort through it, and I move it and list it as fast as possible. I mean, it's one of those things. I just try to get stuff as listed as possible because that's just money sitting there, and I love making money. It's what this is all about. You have to be an exception in clothing and helping me realize what I should have been doing all along. I was one of those that would watch YouTube and get discouraged on how much they made. Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to get discouraged. And I got, like, I didn't get cursed out, but I could see like where I was talking about, like, I average around 10,000 a month, between, I'll say 9 to 12. And you can see, like, if I go here and show you, see if you go to selling on your eBay, we're at for the last 90 days. It was at 30,400. So it's right at that like 10,000 mark. And it says we have 446 sold in the last 3 months. I have currently like 650 listings or so. No, maybe I may have a little bit more than that. Don't worry about that active number, because that active number is not actually correct, because the software we use to list on other websites kind of tricks that algorithm to listing it on the other websites. But no debt piles. How are the ticket sales for the resale rally? They sold out in a day. They are gone, Brett. They are gone. They sold out. I actually thought they were going to sell out actually quicker than they did, but if I was a betting man, I would have lost. Something I don't like to do. Don't like that. That if you had to go back to like anything, you ever see these things where people talk about like they're like, oh, I overspent on this, or oh, my first money I bought this crazy car or this or that. Like, yeah. Sports betting was one way that I lost a shitload of money over the years. We'll say BM, before marriage. Like, I got too much involved. Well, probably the early 2000s is when I was huge into that. Like, there would be weeks where I'd win 8,000 and turn around and lose 10 the next week. Thank God I wasn't the kind of person to spend all that money as fast as possible. I would have been done. I quit eBay a few months back, was only losing money. How are you losing money? Did you have a bookie? funny story. I'm not going to get too much into details, but I actually worked for a bookie, and we'll just keep it that way. I was the guy that would show up to collect some money from you. I had to put hands on a few people or some things to get some money from people. But that's a story for another day. Statute of limitations over, but we still ain't going to talk about it. Because I did get dragged into a, what do you want to call it, a grand jury indictment hearing on that. And nothing ever happened of it, thank God. But loose lips sink ships. Back in the stupid days. Back when I was younger, I you around the wrong people. You might think it's not a bad thing. Like you think it's normal because you grew up around it, but then after you get a little older and you see things and you're like, wait, this is not a good thing. This is not good. A lot of shady characters, but no Irish mob. There's other nationalities that have mobs. Gold tooth. Need like a gold grill. It has like eBay on the letters. Get it jeweled out. Did you ever meet Whitey Bulger? The only way I ever see Whitey Bulger was in a movie. I don't even know. I mean, I know who Whitey Bulger was, but never met him or anything. You guys are funny. I should talk about like life before reselling. Oh, that would be funny. Life before reselling. But but anyway, I would love to get into. Wow, we get off base. I get off base very quickly. But I would like to break into more antique stuff and things like that. Maybe like, I used to watch some resellers that had an antique booth, like Tanya Thrifting Treasures had an antique booth. I haven't watched his videos in years, but what was his name? Bonafide Hustler had an antique booth, and I always thought it was intriguing to have one. We do have Cape Cod is actually a known destination for people to go to antique stores. There's a lot of different places down here, and some of them get good traffic, but it seems very seasonal. Like in the summer, they're popping and busy, but how is it in the wintertime? A lot of those places don't seem to get the traffic, maybe on the weekends occasionally or around certain holidays. But, whoops. And the other thing is StockX. I want to kind of get into and try to figure out this StockX thing. I think there's it's like a base. It's an app base. I think they have a physical store too in New York City or LA, one of the two. No, I think it's New York City. They have a physical store, but you sell like the higher end like streetwear clothing, and you can sell some of the sneakers and stuff like that. I'm really curious about the StockX app. And they authenticate the item. You send it to them, and then they authenticate it, and then they send it on to the next person. So that's actually pretty cool, and I'm actually curious about learning more about that. As somebody that I used to buy off the Supreme website a lot and sell on eBay and stuff like that, but I kind of got away from it the last few years because everybody uses bots now. It's kind of different. And a few years ago, we used to know a guy that me and another person was able to get a bunch of Yeezys once and sell them, and that turned out to be pretty profitable. But that was like a few years ago. I didn't even make a video about it because I didn't want people knowing about it. It was like, nope, not making a video. Certain things I'm not, I can't make videos about, but The Departed was a good movie. I actually just watched that a few months ago. I heard vintage furniture is hot. Where you're at, Ronnie, that is still going. I would assume like not vintage so much, but mid-century modern furniture is extremely hot. And where we live, like Boston, Providence, I would think there's a lot of interest in that pieces. New York City is only 4 hours away. So I could offer it like on Facebook or offer it on eBay, local pickup, and maybe that would work. Maybe it wouldn't work. But who knows? But I want to have a location to where I can house stuff like that. Let me see here. But I want to get into some bigger things. We did it when we had the warehouse, and I would like to get back into it. I have a warehouse that's loaded. I mean, I have a storage unit that's 10 by 20 or 10 by 20. It's either 10 by 20 or 10 by 25, and it's half of it's stuff that we were selling on Facebook. But because it's so cold, I don't go there if I had a space, I could take photographs and list stuff and move it. But because it's there, unless it's summertime, I just don't bother with it. It's a pain in the ass. But antique booths can be tough though. You gotta have a lot to go right for it to work. Yeah, I do agree. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like anything else. I think if I did it, it would have to be more advertising based, like advertising signs and stuff like that. I've done well, but also I do well with those on Facebook too. So I don't know if but shipping prices of the last few years have gotten crazy to ship stuff. So I've gotten burned the last few times I've shipped things because what maybe costed me to ship a 42-inch sign a few months ago changed, and now it's like, send a sign that cost me $80. For some reason, it was costing me $200, and it's like, whoa, yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. StockX is crazy. I know a lot of my sneaker friends use it. I mean, it's one of those things. I haven't used it per se. I've watched it for a while, trying to figure it out. I know a lot of times I see a lot of the shoes sell for like the similar price that they do on eBay. Someone was saying they have a 20% fees, so it may be better to actually sell it on eBay. If you're selling shoes for over $100, you know that the fees are waived on eBay these days. They don't charge you the the eBay fee anymore. That eBay fee, if you sell a shoe over $100, you don't pay for it. So, and I've sold it and I've seen it in my things where I wasn't getting charged for the shoes because I've sold a few shoes over that period. I seen someone talking about Chad earlier. Chad is doing good. I just noticed he messaged me a few minutes ago. I can't wait actually to get off of this and chat with him. But he didn't message me. earlier. I also had a bunch of people message, but someone was talking about Rudy too. Where's Rudy been? Rudy's been good. I talked to Rudy and he just messaged in our chat. I have to with somebody else. He was like, hey. But Rudy I talk to probably every 2 or 3 days, probably still to this day, and he's good. I think he's slowed down on reselling. He's gotten into a few different other things. Like for a while, he was restoring like stand-up video consoles and stuff like that. Anybody who remembers Square Deal Guy, I just talked to him not too long ago. He's doing good these days too. But I don't think the thing is, a lot of people, they get away from reselling, so it's kind of like they just branch off into something else. It runs its course in their lives. Other things take over or something, or they get they just move on. I don't know why, but it does. We don't have porn. We don't have porn. Pawn. We don't have pawn. We don't have pawn shops near us in Massachusetts. I don't think there's any that I can think of. I might be wrong, but that's not something I know. Like when we were in Orlando and stuff like that, you see them on every street corner, but we don't have them up here. I don't know if it's. I'm assuming it's probably to different laws and stuff like that. I know when we were in Florida, I tried going into a few ones of them, and someone was told me how to read the tags at certain shops so you can see how long they've been there. But when we were at some stores in Florida, they would sell everything. They had everything from jerseys to sneakers to it was funny. Would you ever consider having your own shop like Pete Buy Sell Trade Shop? No, I wouldn't. I thought about it at one time, but we never. There's no way. I think it's a real cool idea to have like maybe just a shop dedicated. And I know Wes is the same way. Wes is probably more in love with this idea than I am. At the seam store, that he would love to have, I think, a men's shop that just dedicated to selling men's pre-owned clothing. Just, you have that place you walk into and everything good. If you ever see Lux Swap on eBay and Instagram, he has a place on Long Island. Krillin knows what I'm talking about. And, he has a place where you can walk into, and it's pretty cool. But I've never been there, even though I have family in the area. I haven't seen that family in a while in the Glen Clove area. But really high-to-do area on Long Island, on the North Shore. Some money over there, that's for sure. But will you still source clothing when you move to St. Louis? Not moving to St. Louis. I will. That's right. It's in Oyster Bay. My family's in Glen Clove, right? Krillin, you know what I'm talking about. Thanks, Mr. Dapper Tiger. I'm liking the super chats today. I'm appreciating this. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. But I would source St. Louis. I mean, got to be some interesting stuff to be had, I would think, there. But no way that I would live there. St. Louis, is that in Missouri, or is that in Kansas City? I mean, not Kansas. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri, right? I would feel like that's like one of those places, like when as it gets dark, you want to get off the streets and like run back to your hotel. But it would be cool to see that arch thing. Maybe even catch like a baseball game there. I love baseball. I would love to go to like all the stadiums. When I had the whole. That's probably the only way I'm going to get my wife to leave JetBlue is by trying to convince her I'm buying a RV. Like, yes, baby, I'm gonna buy a RV. If you leave your job, we'll buy an RV. I won't tell you when, but we'll buy an RV. I would love to travel, though. I would love to go baseball in every different city. and just sightsee, like just travel on the road and sightsee and buy and sell. Um, Heavy Leslie running. That's the connection to have. I don't know who you're talking about. She make YouTube videos. Heavy Leslie. That sounds funny. I don't know if we're making fun of somebody or I'm not sure what we got going on over here. I got yelled at by a homeless couple in downtown St. Louis. There used to be a guy over here on the corner by that Chick-fil-A that opened up by my house. This guy used to stand there with this sign, "Will need out of work painter," and he would shake because you could tell he was so like off or whatever he was off, and he would shake. And that guy one day was yelling at me for some reason, trying to. I think I cut him off. There's a drugstore close to. Not a drugstore, a liquor store, and he would walk with his bike, and then he would hide in the woods behind the mall where we are in Hyannis, and he would be like. Guy was yelling at me one day. I remember I was on the phone with Chad, and I'm like, dude, I really feel like whipping a homeless guy's ass, but I don't know how that's going to go over with the police. Like, just go in the store, shut up, and go. Like, I don't need that in my life. No Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic. I'm not sure. Are they not in it this year? I would think they would be. They won it last time, didn't? Or they finished second last time. I think they lost. Let me see here. East St. Louis is definitely a place to avoid. When we were in Indiana, we pulled off last time we went to we were going to Chicago, the reseller rally in 2017. We stopped in Gary, Indiana to get gas because the GPS told me to get off. The first two gas stations that was supposed to be right off the highway were closed. One had a fence around it, and we had to drive through there. I would never stop in Gary, Indiana again. That place had me, man. I got out at the gas station. I was just like, oh, this is interesting. And the guy had like one of these Monte Carlo, like those 80 Monte Carlo cars. And it was like on these huge wheels, like 30-inch wheels. And it was painted some type of, like, I don't remember what it was, but it was a theme to something at the time. I don't remember what it was, though. And I was just like, let me get my gas and get the hell out of here. Guy drinking a 40 right on the curb of the gas station. I was like, oh, this is fun. Let me see here. Hyannis, isn't that where Ted Kennedy killed a girl? No, he killed a girl on one of the islands. I think Martha's Vineyard. He was from Hyannis Port, where they have the Kennedy compound, which I did make a video where I drove by the Kennedy compound about a month ago in my seaside chats. Tim Tebow is playing for the Philippines. I actually seen the other day where he was batted last year. He batted 163, and he was in AAA, and he struck out like 40% of the time. I was like, dude, you're 34 years old. Like, you have a better chance probably at making money playing in the XFL than you do in Gary is horrible. But I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to talk about. No, I think that's about it. I'll give about a few more minutes and then I'll head out of this if nobody else wants to chit chat, or if anybody got any questions, I should say, because I mean I could probably sit and chit chat with the all night long, but it's at what point do you say, okay, you got to get into that shipping because you got 20 things to ship. Maybe I should send some offers to people. Maybe I'll get squeak another sale or two. But eBay's been, I mean, eBay is always up and down, up and down, up and down. It's like a roller coaster. You never know when you're going to have a good day or a bad day or a bad weekend. You just don't know. Got to have the right items at the right time, I guess. It's all craziness. But I am pro sales this weekend. More sales, the better in my mind. But definitely like to move some things. But with that being said, let me see here. Tebow dropped a fly ball at the bottom of the ninth inning with 2 outs the other night. That's funny. Did someone say pray? You got to pray for sales on eBay. Got a guy with the name Lobster comes into the chat. We're from Cape Cod. Cut you up and put you in a roll. That's what we do. That's what I did for the last 20 years. I cooked lobsters. eBay is weird. eBay is up and down all the time. It's very hard to say why. You think you're listing good stuff, but in actuality, when you have 700 things listed on eBay and you look in the clothing section, there's like 10 million things. It's like, yeah, you're just a fraction of what's selling over there. But I'll see you guys later. I appreciate you all for coming out and just babble with me for an hour and 15 minutes. I appreciate the super chats to anybody who gave them. I appreciate it. Not necessary, but it is appreciative. But I'll see you guys all later. Have a good day. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Ding-a-ling, ding, ding, dong.